Nostalgic movie review.
Nerdy.
Married man.
Welcome back to New Nostalgic Movie Reviews. I'm David.
And I'm Steven.
And today we are looking at a wife's pick episode.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, good. We did a special YS episodes for the next two episodes. This is where we decided to have them pick their favorite movie for some reason, or just a movie that means a lot to them.
Yeah, and the movie that my wife picked was How to Train Your Dragon. This movie came out in 2010. It's PG, and it's an hour and 38 minutes long.
Which is perfect length for a movie. This has Jay Baruchel, Gerard Butler, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, Craig Ferguson,
America Ferrera, Jonah Hill, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, TJ Miller, and Kristen Wiig.
Yeah, those people.
The plot for this movie is a hapless young Viking who aspires to hunt dragons becomes the unlikely friend of a young dragon himself and learns there may be more to the creatures than they assumed.
Boom, boom, boom.
So I think to start out with, probably talk about the music.
Oh, seriously.
The music of this movie is phenomenal. The composer, John Powell, should be awarded every award ever. This
whole
franchise
has some of the best soundtracks and music to it ever. And honestly, just DreamWorks in general just has killer soundtracks in everything they do. Shrek has a killer soundtrack. This has a killer soundtrack. Kung Fu Panda's got a killer soundtrack. Like, it's just all fantastic. And the animation of this is just some of the most beautiful animations I've seen, even with this movie being over 10 years old. Like, this is just incredible.
Oh yeah, the visuals of this movie overshadowed so many movies that were made today. I mean, you can pause this movie at any point and it'll be a perfect. You can make it the background on your desktop. It's a beautiful scene.
Yeah. Seriously, some of the lighting and shadowing and effects of this movie, like even at times where you're looking into Toothless's eyes and you see every bit of his iris, you see the shadows of the trees behind him, you see the reflection of things behind him. It is so pristine in every small detail of this. It's just incredible what they do with this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even the cinematography, it's shot so well, and the movie, I guess the movie just feels like they are in a real place. A mix of the lighting and the shadows make these characters that are not made to resemble realism at all, but they seem like they really fit well in this world that just looks so detailed and beautiful.
There's the opening scene is a camera crawl through like the town like it's flying, and it's almost like this is what's going to happen later, like kind of foreshadowing of what's happening of them flying through the town. And there's even just like some of the most subtle moments in this with like lighting and effects we're talking about. There's a moment where Hiccup is reading the dragon training like book or whatever after everyone's left after training, and he opens up the book and you see the candles flicker their wind when he opens the book, like the wind draft moved the flame just slightly. And that attention to detail, so intricate, so small, really not noticeable, but makes it feel so much more real.
Absolutely.
Because it's something you notice in real life when you do that stuff.
Yeah, this movie, I cannot say enough about it. I think this movie is worth buying on every service you can. It's worth watching, worth buying. I firmly believe this movie belongs in like the top 10 best movies of all time. It's within that list.
Damn, that's crazy. I also just absolutely love this movie. I don't know if it made my top 10 ever, but it is definitely one of my top animated movies ever. And it has just one of the most brilliant storylines, brilliant characterization, some of the most amazing visuals, like we said. This movie it's funny, like I had like a month ago before even having this movie for the podcast, Jen randomly was talking to your wife about this movie, and I was like, oh, I need to watch those again. And we ended up finding a deal on Vudu and buying them all. And my wife started watching one while I was playing a game for the other podcast, and I ended up like kept on like pausing and looking over what was going on, and I ended up just completely turning off my computer and watching the rest of the movie with her, then watch the next one the next day, and the next one the next day after that.
Just can't help but watch them. They're so good.
It's seriously, it's encapsulating. Every time I see this on, I'm like, yo, what's going on? I want to see the flight scene again. Like, I want to see this.
So, yeah, on top of the music, the characterization of everyone, all of the storylines,
the character building.
Yes,
is just insane, especially with Stoic and Hiccup, and even some of the other people in the clan and stuff like that. Like there's character growth with almost every single person
Yeah,
in
all
some
of
way or
like the
another.
main clump of characters, like those 8 characters or whatever, each have a moment to shine. Some of them less than others, but it's
Yeah,
all really well done.
and such a stacked cast.
Yeah, the cast is just amazing. Uh, so I guess before we move on to spoilers, next week we're going to look at Steven's wife's pick, which is
The Book of Life.
The Book of Life. It is on HBO Max right now, so go check it out, and we'll get at you with that next week.
Yeah.
All right, and now on to the spoilers. I think one of the biggest things to talk about first is going to be the character growth and relationship between Hiccup and Toothless.
Seriously, some of the things in this, especially with the facial animations, with both Hiccup and especially Toothless, with the way that they show trust in each other's eyes and they show like a little bit of fear and hesitation. And I know like you were talking about something with like the hand.
Yeah, so there's an animation point where they're first learning to trust each other, and Toothless kind of starts leaning in, and then he hesitates and he snaps his head back a little bit, and then he fully leans into Hiccup's hand. And I think that's such an important moment, but it turns out that animation of him hesitating for a second was actually a mistake. It was a glitch in the animation. And they decided to keep it because it just looked so well, and it actually made the scene feel more real because it showed almost like the internal struggle that Toothless is going through to trust Hiccup.
It really did. And one of the things I absolutely love about this, and it's something that I don't see a lot of people pointing out, is I love how much like Hiccup never planned to tame the dragon. Hiccup never planned to ride this dragon. Hiccup literally just wanted to help and figure out the dragons, and he wanted to just understand them.
Yeah.
And he started out by accidentally shooting off a part of Toothless's tail, and then realizing he can't fly, so he builds him a mechanism that can fly to help him fly, but Toothless can't control it. So then he creates a mechanism to be able to control it, and that's when they have to start flying together to work together. But it's never it was part of his initial intentions, and I absolutely love that part.
Yeah, that they basically make each other better. They're the in a sense that they're like the same person from a different species in a way.
Yeah.
And they just help each other's best qualities come out.
They just have such a strong connection. And with talking about like their strong connection, like you can really see how strong their connection is after Stoic comes down on Hiccup and they have that big fight, which I'll talk about that scene in a little bit too. But they have that big fight and Stoic grabs the Night Fury and chains him up and drives off to go towards the lead head dragon or whatever. But after that, and they when they open up the chains again, Toothless still trusts Hiccup, and it's something that I love because a lot of movies I feel like they make a third act conflict there. They're like, "Oh, I don't trust any humans anymore because of that." But him still having full trust in Hiccup, like you would have never done this to me. You did this because you were forced to it as well, and him knowing that is just beautiful.
Yeah, and I think one of the most powerful scenes to show their relationship and also problem solving is the first test flight scene
Oh, seriously.
where, you know, the two of them are doing okay at first, and Hiccup's using his little cheat sheet, and it's just so awesome watching them grow together, even just in that one scene. I think that's one of the most perfect scenes ever created. But like when he finally loses his cheat sheet and they just learn to trust each other, and Hiccup's like, ah, screw it, and he just lets instinct take over, and
Hmm.
they basically like the gears align and become one machine. It just works so well.
Well, and I just love a lot of their dynamics because Toothless does feel like a cat or a dog kind of personality, and you really see that. And I love like when he's even like doing different things, like uh, y- uh, he finds out he has got the retractable teeth, and you find out he's got like a bunch of these things, and he's got these little quirks, and he loves fish, and all these little like tiny little things, and he's like bouncing around. And there's even like that drawing scene where he's like drawing in the dirt, and then Chisa grabs a branch and starts drawing all over the place. And it reminds me of like in Tarzan when Clayton was showing Tarzan how to draw, and he draws this like beautiful grill, and then Tarzan just takes and he goes.
It is very similar.
Well, and there's just so many just like touching and just beautiful like tiny details and emotions in this that just with everything is just incredible. Just the way that everything reacts, and there's always a reaction to everything. It's something that I've talked about in the last couple of our movies I hate when things happen and people don't react. Like in the Mortal Kombat, when the humans don't react to seeing demons and gods for the first time. Like it's so strange when things don't have a reaction. And this every single thing has a reaction from someone. Whether it's good or bad, it's just part of their characters. And it's just awesome.
Yeah, I guess one of the, if not only, downfalls I have in this movie uh, is that in the beginning, the town gets mad at Hiccup uh, because apparently he screws up and causes all this destruction. But while I was watching it, I'm like, he didn't do that. Like, I don't. I truly believe none of it was actually Hiccup's fault,
Like the
and
destruction would have happened,
it
period.
would have happened either way. And I feel like they're just finding a place to put their blame and anger towards,
Yeah.
which is Hiccup. And I that's the one thing that kind of annoyed me. But other than that, I think the movie's
Yeah,
virtually
for me,
perfect.
I have just a few downfalls. Like one of the biggest ones for me, um, I really it is kind of weird how scrawny he is working as a blacksmith, and it just feels so weird because working as a blacksmith for as long as he's worked as a blacksmith and as much as they've talked about it, it's weird that he wouldn't have some muscle definition. But I feel like it was more of a design thing, just to show exaggeration of how different he was from his dad.
Yeah, I think they wanted to exaggerate that, Hiccup not only wants to be accepted, but they want to show him as like a relatable underdog or not someone that you would expect to be a hero of this story.
Yeah. The only other things for me is it seems weird like during the dragon fighting training scenes when Hiccup's using the eel and the grass and like tickling the dragons. Everyone's watching him. There's people watching from above the arena that are like grading him on his dragon training or dragon like skills or whatever, dragon fighting skills, and no one says anything about any of it. Like if I was fighting with him and training with him and I saw him hold up a thing of grass and the dragon immediately goes from fighting to my puppy dog, like I'm gonna be like, "What the was that, dude? Like, what are you doing? How did you do that? Where did that come from? Or what was the eel thing you just threw into that bin?"
See, and I kind of see it as it's almost like Hiccup is showing off new skills of how to take care of dragons instead of going right for the kill right away. It's one of the things I love about Hiccup. He looks at a problem and tries to find a solution without fighting or using violence first because he realizes that's not the type of person he is. He always wants to talk or find a solution to fight like he does in all the movies. And I feel like that's kind of showing that he is.
Well, and I love him doing it. I just don't love that there's no reactions to anybody else seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, they do say like he is like the Dragon Master or whatever. Later one still
Yeah,
gets back, and I feel like that might be part of it. They're seeing it as another way to
but as
take care of
as
dragons.
a group of people that have always been fighting these dragons and are learning how to fight and kill these dragons and learning all the details to survive against these dragons, seeing someone tickling a dragon's neck in a submission is weird.
Yeah,
Like it is weird. The only other big downfall I really, really have for this is it is really weird at the end of the movie how everyone like the entire movie is him learning how to fly,
mhm.
and at the end of the movie, everyone just instantly knows how to fly a dragon, going towards the main battle scene at the end.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that because it kind of makes a quick cut. I do think that it starts out that scene with Hiccup starting to show them how to ride the dragons and tame the dragons and whatnot. And I feel like it would have ruined the pacing of the film if they had like stopped for like a quick montage of him training them how to
Yeah, I definitely didn't want a
like ride the
montage.
dragons.
And I don't know if there's necessarily a way to do it better. And I'm not saying that it's bad necessarily, but just logically, it didn't make a lot of sense. And maybe they could have just like said how much time has passed or something like, all right, we've been training for 2 days. We really need to get out there now. Like we need to go help them. Like we need to get there as fast as we can. And even though these dragonflies are going to be faster than boat, we still might not catch them at the exact time they get there or whatever. And it could have been something with that because even like having someone who knows these things about the dragons and is going to be able to make it quicker. But I mean, we don't even know how long of a span it was that Hiccup was training with Toothless. Was that a week? during the movie? Was it several months of the movie? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
there is no timeline. And that is the only other thing that I really, and that's kind of a nitpicky thing, to be honest. Like this movie is just incredible, and I'm not saying that it's bad that they made this decision. It's just something that I can point out and be like, what did happen there? What's going on there? Why did this happen so quickly?
yeah, I can understand that how it would kind of make you think about that. But I guess if that's all the downfalls you have, I want to get back into some of the other characters.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
sure.
I think Stoic has a really cool arc this
Oh,
movie. I mean, one of the biggest things I love is at the end of the movie when Hiccup and Toothless are under the water. Stoic has grown from hating dragons to understanding that like Toothless is something special. That he not only goes in and pulls Hiccup out of the water and saves him, but then he turns around and goes back to help Toothless as well.
yeah.
And he just understands like, you know what, you're gonna need to be up here to help Hiccup, and like he understands.
Well, and I love how much like detail they go into showing the emotional sides of these characters too. Just like with Hiccup and Stoic, like when Stoic hears all these things about Hiccup being bad at dragon training at first, he's like really like upset and like, oh man, he can't do anything right. I wish I had a stronger son. He says all these like things and Hiccup overhears it and you kind of get that sadness to it. But then like when they actually have that confrontation about the Night Fury and other dragons and stuff, they get into this fight, and during this fight, it's one of the coolest animated scenes for me. Um, Stoic says some hurtful things to Hiccup. Hiccup's like on the floor and just sitting there and just like in shock and awe and just hurt from all the things Stoic said. And Stoic like tries to slam the door, but the door doesn't fully stay slammed, and it partially opens back up and leaves a crack of light on him, and it's visually just beautiful. And then you see Stoic walking, and he's so angry and uptight, and then all of a sudden you see this like I just thought about what I said and what I did, and like mad that I said it. Like, why did I do that? Why did I say those things? Why did I have this fight with him? And you just instantly see the regret in his face, and it's just so beautiful because I can't tell you the time I've seen a detail like that in an animated movie that was just that perfect.
It is quite amazing, and I do love some things about this movie is how it sets up plot points and story points early on in the movie, and then it pays them off really well.
Hmm.
Like I really enjoy how you know Hiccup makes the mistake of hurting Toothless, and so he helps Toothless to be able to fly again. And at the end of the movie, Toothless had unintentionally hurt Hiccup, and now it's him that is helping Hiccup to walk again and be able to move around. And I also really love how like the end of the film, like the last solution is foreshadowed like halfway through the movie. It shows how dragons are not fireproof inside their body,
Oh
only
yeah.
outside, where it shows Toothless shoots a little fireball into this little small dragon that's causing issues and causes it to wig out. And so then they use that technique at the end of the movie against the queen dragon, shooting a fireball inside of it and causing it to, be defeated. And I just think it's
This
such an
is
amazing setup
For
paid
sure.
off.
This is one of the coolest things I think about this movie. Because most of the time with dragons in movies, it's either like a magical flame breath, or it just breathe fire instantly, or they have like two fire rods in their throat that spark together that cause the flame, or whatever it is. And in this one, they actually fill their mouths with the gas first, and then they ignite the gas. And that is the coolest thing ever. And it also pays homage to like what they said earlier with them only having a certain number of shots, like for dragons, because they only have a certain amount of gas in them and they have to keep producing this gas. So it makes sense that they only have limited shots because of that.
I
Eh,
do like how the movie shows that each dragon has a certain number of shots, like the grunkle has like 5 shots or something, and it's nice seeing that they can only do so much before they have to take a rest and like recharge basically.
Well, and like some of the things in there too, like some of the things they learn about the dragons, like they learn that loud noises and banging pots and stuff like disorient the dragons,
Mhm.
and they use that against the mother dragon. But then they also, what the dragons they're flying on while they're bashing him, also start to wig out and stuff, and they start going crazy, and they're like, "Oh God!" And they're like, "Oh no, this is hurting my dragon too." and it's just one of those things. And like I've heard a lot of people point out that all the dragons like having similar things that they like or dislike is a little weird. But then I'm like, you're thinking about it as each dragon having individual exact traits when you're not thinking about it like cats and dogs. Like all cats and all dogs, like there's tons of different breeds of dogs, but there are traditional things that all dogs do. And that's why I think they're doing that with dragons. They're saying dragons as a species are common enough that they can do this, but each one will still have their individual details.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, as far as like the chemistry in this movie, I really love how all of the actors interact with each other and all the characters play off of each other. And I think it's done so well because it was recorded a little differently than traditional animated movies where they're like in a single sound booth and one character records their lines at a time. Whereas in this movie, a lot of the actors were able to get a similar schedule so that they could record at the same time in the room and kind of play off of each other and play off of their emotions, and it makes it almost feel more real when the characters are interacting on
I
screen.
definitely think that makes a better movie. Because, like, even though, like, I don't necessarily like the movie Rango, but I love that they filmed it all together and they all acted it out. And, like, like that's another movie where they actually did all the voice acting in the same room all together. And they actually were, like, walking around like they were in a Western and stuff during the movie and acting it out. And you can tell that in their voice presentations of what they did and the things they accomplished with just voice acting. That is unparred by a lot of other movies just because of that interaction with each other.
Yeah, I think this movie really pulled it off with that, and all the characters just feel so natural and part of this world, and each actor really gave it their all.
Well, and I love some of the things in this movie, like the big cliches. Like at the beginning of this movie, we see a dragon blast that hits behind Astrid, and it's right after he's talking about the girl that he really likes and stuff. When we get that slow motion glamour hair flip shot, and then we get the cool guys don't look at explosion walk with the badass hero walks, and then the rest of the squad rolls up with them behind her, and it's like three or four cliches all in one, but it's like such a cool scene, and it's just so fun. And that's one of the things I love about this is they even make like homages to some of these small things in these, but they do it in so different a way that it's just beautiful. It's amazing. It's meta. It's funny. It's awesome. Yeah, it's just fantastic.
Yeah, this movie again can't recommend it
Oh,
enough.
I will say this time I watched it with subtitles, and I caught a line that I'd never heard any other time that I watched the movie because it's not it's you can't really hear it, but it's in the subtitles. And it's during one of the scenes when they're all gathered together at the beginning of the movie, like having a council,
Hmm.
and you hear there's some lady in the crowd who goes, "Have to go do my axe returns."
I never caught that before. Wow.
It's so stupid, but it's one of those things that I wish they would have enhanced the audio on that line in there because it is so funny to me. And having watched this movie like 10 plus times and never have knowing that line and just watching with the subtitles and seeing that line, I laughed. I laughed so hard. I was like, yes, please, I want more of that.
That's great. I hadn't noticed that before.
Other thing we were talking about with like the way it calls back. There's the callback when Hiccup hurts Toothless and he goes, "Oh no, I did this." And then there's that callback when Hiccup and Toothless are hurt and Stoic goes, "I did this." And he says it in the exact same way in the exact same like emotions, and you can see like the similarities of father and son there, but you also see like the callback of, "Oh my God, like I realized what I did wrong in this moment, like, and I have to make up for it. I have to change my ways. I have to understand my son a lot more. I have to work with him. I can't just stay in my old stoic ways."
See, and I really like how he learns to accept his son,
Mm.
and not that he necessarily agrees with him, but I do love how he does end up agreeing with him.
Well, and it's
But
really cool because you get that throughout the entire movie because it goes and it's really cool how it's like wishy-washy. Like I said earlier, he goes through not really caring for his son to really caring for his son when he thinks he's this badass dragon fighter, but then finding out he's not really fighting the dragons, he's more taming them and getting angry at him. But then he's realizing like, oh my God, you built such a special connection with this dragon that you guys trust, you love each other, you'll protect each other. Like I've never seen this before. I didn't know this was possible. Wow, like you've changed my mind just from seeing it in action. And I have to be a better person. I have to be a better father. I have to be a better man and leader for this tribe because of what you did and what you showed me. And it's beautiful.
Oh yeah, Stoic is such an amazingly well written character, and his just growth throughout the movies just insane.
Well, and seriously, How to Train Your Dragon to me is one of the best animated franchises ever, and it's by far probably my favorite DreamWorks franchise. Like, I think this beats Kung Fu Panda as an entirety. I think this beats Shrek. I think this beats a lot of other things as just far as just like with all three of these movies, I don't have many downfalls with all three of these movies. All three of these movies have great villains.
They're
All three of these
solid.
movies have great stories. All three of these movies has amazing character growth and development from not only just the main character, but a lot of characters. You see character growth with every single one. You see everyone's attitude change. You see everyone change their perspective on life and the way they live throughout the entire movie. An entire town changes with character growth. That is insane. You don't see that in movies.
That's why Hiccup makes a great leader when it comes to that. But yeah, all the just the writing staff of this movie just need huge pats on the back. They need to
Yeah.
be awarded because it's just so well written. Uh, I guess I don't know if you have anything else, but again, recommend this movie. Go watch it.
No, I don't think I have anything else for this. I think I said pretty much everything with it. Just if you haven't watched this movie, seriously, go watch it. Watch the entire franchise. Buy the entire franchise outright. You will not regret it. You will not be sorry. You will love this movie for some reason. And that's the thing is this appeals to so many people. If you want just visuals, it has it. If you want just audio, it has it. If you want just soundtrack, it has it. If you want like
A good
great
story.
story, great character development, whatever you want, this movie has it in spades.
Mhm. So that was How to Train Your Dragon. Thank you, Dana, for your choice.
Yes, great choice.
And again, next week we are looking at the Book of Life. We will see you then.
Bye.